Hello, on today's video I will show you how to spawn random object on random positions in front of our rocket. So to show you a better view of what we're going to do today, just look how our objects are spawned in front of our rocket. Okay, so this is random objects we can collect, pick, and etc. So if you are going to like today's video, please don't forget to press the like button and don't forget to subscribe. So let's start working. First, let's create prefabs from our game objects. Create prefab folder, and to create prefab from the objects we've created on our last episode, just move each other to the folder prefab. And don't forget to reset position here. 0, 0, 0, and 0, 0. Okay, create spawner. First, let's create, we can delete those now. And create empty game object and rename it to spawn objects. Let's reset all the transforms and let's create new script called object spawner. Okay, one more second. Very need to compile, and yeah. Okay, so we have object spawner attached to our game object, and now we can start coding. Okay, this is not useful for us. Okay. First, what we want to do is to create a reference for our game object we want to spawn. So let's write public game object to spawn. Now here we will attach our prefab to that one. Next values we need is public int distance between objects is distance between objects we are going to spawn. So we want to spawn like a new object every 10 meters, for example. So this is the value. But to be able, we need to know when we have spawned previous object, we need to store that value somewhere. So let's write last object spawn position. So this is the value we need for our calculations, and we need to know the current position of our rocket because we want to spawn objects before our rocket, in front of our rocket, sorry. Okay, so first let's set our last object spawn position to position 0. And now what we want to do is to create a function called public void spawn object. And that function will be called when our last object, so we need condition if our last object spawned position is less or equal rocket position that y. What we just checking here, is equal. What we are checking here is when we have already object spawned and our rocket will get past that position. So that means that we need a new object spawned in front of our rocket. So now we just use function spawn object. And to spawn object, what we need is to know the spawn position we want to spawn our object on. So let's write vector2 spawn position is equal to our new vector 2. For x, let's take 0 for now, then we randomize it in a few minutes, but the position y, so as you remember, the y position, if we take manipulation, is that position. Okay, so now we calculate this position in front of our rocket. So it will be our last object spawned position plus distance between objects. So this is the distance we will set from our inspector window. Okay, and now when we have that, so we need to set up last object spawned position is equal to spawn pos.y. Spawn pos, it's here, .y. And here we'll have issue because this is the float argument, but we know this is like integer values because it's there is no values after comma on those ones, so we can cast that value as int. Now the compiler will know that we want to put int into int variable. Okay, and now we just instantiate object, and what we want to do is now write object to spawn to spawn on, we want to spawn it on the spawn position, and rotation will take transform that rotation of our object the script is attached to. Okay, and that's all to spawn our first game object. So let's check how it works. So now let's make distance between spawned object like 10 or maybe 5 meters. Let's attach our rocket to position, and object to spawn, let's use maybe first of our prefab, let's make money on our as our object we want to spawn. So now when I press play, we'll see how it works. Maybe I will zoom out a little bit more. Where's rocket? Here's the rocket. And if I move, you can see that objects are spawned in front of our rocket. Because it's the position 5, so maybe let's change the position. Second. Spawn object. Let's make it like 10, so they will be spawned here behind the screen. Because 5 is somewhere here, so it looks like they appear in the middle of the screen. So as you can see here now, we are flying and new objects are coming in to our game. Okay, but we don't want that object to be shown just in front every time in front of our rocket. So to spawn them on the randomized position, we need a new function which will be called public int random pos x. So we need to randomize this value we have placed, which is 0 now. So 0 position in x, it means that this is the position all the time in x, will be here on 0. So what we want to do now, we've created a function. This is here in function I usually write void, because it's the type we want to return. So if it's void, we don't want to return any type. But here we have integer, so that means we will return integer. So I will show you how it exactly works. So if we do write int x equals 0, and then x with random between values, if you what values we want to random. I will show you. First, if we move our game object maximum to the left, you will see it's -2. And if we move our object maximum to the right, you will see it's 2. Okay, so we want to get values, random values between -2 and 2. But if you write random dot range, random range, to get values to get values between -2 dot 2, we need to write here 3, number 3. That's right. And what we want to do is to return our x. I will explain in a moment why we want to place 3 to get 2 here. But first, to use that function, as I promised, we just need to use random pos name here, random pos x. And now we'll have randomized position x. Okay, and why we want to do, maybe let's write in update debug that log that random range, and let's write random range between, for the explanation, 0 and 2. Okay, so we'll see what we'll get. So here now, if we go to debug, you will see we are only getting 0 and 1. That's because the numbers are inclusive. So that's why to get 1 you have to write 2, and to get 2 you have to write 3. Okay, I hope it's clear. I can't make it any more clear. I hope everybody gets that. Okay, so now let's check how our function exactly works. Let's use our rocket, and when you fly, you will see that objects are randomized. Let me maybe zoom out a little bit. Yeah, they are randomized on the side of our screen. Okay, so they are not showing anymore in front of our rocket. Of course, they can. Yeah, that last one just showed in front of our rocket. So it's spawned on integer positions -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Okay, so that's the effect I want to achieve. And what's more, I want to be able to randomize between all of our obstacles. So to do that, we need function called, let's call it random object. Let's write int random object, and let's do it like that. Random object, and we'll return, okay, let's write int random value is equal to 0, and let's return for now I will first explain you why we want to return int here, because now what we want to do is to create a table with the game objects. So let's write objects to spawn, and let's change this name objects to spawn. Objects to spawn was the issue. Objects to spawn, yeah. And let's take random object inside. So what does it mean, that function? If we, for example, will, okay, maybe a little bit more explanation before that. Okay, So now, when we have our spawn objects function here, we've just created the table. The table for now has size, default size 0, but if we will take our object, so let's take, for example, on the position 0 bonus money, as you can see here, our element 0 is bonus money, our element 1 is bonus fuel, obstacle 1 will be element 3, and obstacle 2 will be element 4. So we have 4 elements, but on the table, since the numbers of the table goes from 0, so element 1 is on position 0, element 2 is on position 1, and etc. As you can see here. So when we call now from our script instantiate object to spawn 0, we'll call our bonus money. So our bonus money will be instantiated. So let's test it, and let's write like 2 for now, because we have on the position 2 we have our obstacle 1, so this is that rock. So if we will just press play, this one, the rocket. Yeah, the rocket's here. As you can see here, the rocks are instantiated. Okay, and boom, we've just hit the rock. So what I want to do here is just to randomize this value, and to randomize it correctly, we want to do we want to attach two values. So we want to random again on the random range, but between two values, and those values will be int minimum range minimum, let's write min rnd minimum random range, let's make it 0, and let's write let's write underscore here. I don't like the values without underscore when they are in the function. I prefer to do that. I always remember that, or maybe, yeah, okay, it might be confusing. Okay, let's write it like that. My minimum random range, let's write it 0, and int maximum random range will be equal to our objects to spawn, so this is our table, and the length of our table. So the length of our table is 4, because we have 4 objects, but we want to get values between, as you remember, our values on our table, we start numbering from 0. So we want to get integer equal from 0 to 3. So that's correct for us, because if we want in our, if we want to create our random value, in random range, we want to have random range from 0, and to get number 3 here, we want to put number 4 inside. But our table length will be 4, not 3. Okay, I hope it's clear. But elements to call, as I explained you before, we need to call number from 0 to 3. So all is correct now. Okay, I hope everyone gets it. If not, if something is unclear, please write that in comment, so I will explain again. Okay, so we just need to write random object here inside our object to spawn. So we will randomize our integer inside. And now, if I will press play, you will see that our object, I need to catch the rocket. As you can see here, we should have random, we have random object spawned on our game. Okay, So that's the effect we were going to achieve in this episode. So thank you very much for watching, and if you like the video, please press the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.